Let's go through this quick story. Donald Trump, listen to this. It's just sort of stunning to me. As you know, every medical expert that you've heard from on TV or anywhere has said we are probably undercounting the COVID-19 deaths. Certain percentage of people who die at home, the way that you measure this is you compare last year, the year over year deaths figures. So if there's 8,000 people more who've died in your city over a course of 2 months in 2020 versus 2019 and 2018 and 2017 and 2016, you look around, is there some possible explanation for that? Particularly when people are at home, they're not getting hit by cars as much. They're not getting car crashes. They're not getting whatever it is. They're not even catching the flu that often. Well, in this sense, it's probably the pandemic that's going on, that's killing thousands of other people. So that's the reality of what's going on. Meanwhile, the president in recent weeks, this is the Daily Beast reporting, has privately raised suspicion about the number of fatalities in the United States, which recently eclipsed 80,000 recorded deaths. There's something eerily reminiscent of him saying that all those undocumented immigrants went from Massachusetts to New Hampshire to vote and juice Hillary Clinton's vote tallies. In talks with top officials, Trump has suggested that those numbers could have been incorrectly tallied or even inflated by current methodology. Like, what kind of language do you think Trump is saying? Like, I'm a little bit concerned that these could be inflated by the methodology you're using. Or he could be saying, like, I don't like it. Make it less.
Right.
The White House has pressed the CDC, this is according to two individuals with knowledge of the private comments. The White House has pressed the CDC in particular to work with states to change how they count coronavirus deaths and report them back to the federal government. It's according to two officials with knowledge of those conversations. And Deborah Birx, who coordinated the administration's coronavirus task force, has urged CDC officials to exclude from coronavirus death count reporting some of those individuals who either do not have confirmed lab results and are presumed positive or have the virus and may not have died as a direct result of it, is according to three senior administration officials. So this is not like, oh, they were coming to the hospital because they had coronavirus, but they were hit by a car and they died. This is, they come into the hospital and they get complications as a function of having coronavirus.
Right.
And officials inside the CDC, 5 of whom spoke to the Daily Beast, said they're pushing back against the request, claiming it could falsely skew the mortality rate at a time when state and local governments are already struggling to ensure that every person who dies as a result of the coronavirus is counted. Scientists and doctors working with the task force, including Fauci, have said the U.S. death toll count is likely higher than being reflected in government data sets, and several local officials in hotspots say they've seen hundreds, if not thousands, more deaths over the last 2 months than the same period over the last several years. I don't worry about this over-reporting issue, said Bob Anderson, the chief of mortality statistics branch in the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics. What does that guy know?
No, he's an idiot. He's part of the deep state. I mean, Bernie Sanders said, asked Dr. Fauci that it could be, he's heard some people say that it could be 50% higher than what's reported. And Fauci basically said, we don't know, but I think it's very safe to assume that it's higher. And the point I want to make about, Bernie asking that is, it might not be that high, but Bernie's not a Republican senator. He didn't read a blog post at Newsmax and just get a number and say it. He's getting that from somewhere. Somebody credible told him that.
Yep. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, head into the fun half, number 646-257-3920. You want to be a part of the program. We've got a lot of sound to go through. Obamagate is really heating up.
It's Bushgate. That was the big thing. It was Bushgate.
Just a reminder, this program relies on your support. You can become a member by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. Got a lot of members who need some assistance. So if you are one of those people who are not needing financial assistance to join the program, now would be a great time to support it. Join themajorityreport.com. Also, don't forget the AM Quickie. We're going to start sending a notice out on the app. The AM Quickie is up. So check that out. And also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, and chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. You can get as wired as I am every day through that coffee. Michael, TMBS last night.
TMBS last night, we talked with Maximilian Alvarez, who's sort of reporting on the ground with what's happening with labor actions across the country. Talked about why and how the economic consensus is consolidating, even though we're in crisis. And Adolph Reed Jr., we had a great conversation that tracked basically his career academically and as an organizer in the post game. We talked about did a deep dive in the new Michael Moore movie and a whole bunch more. Patreon.com.
What's the deal with that movie?
The deal with that movie is,
I mean, I've been reading a little bit about the scuttlebutt, but I haven't read too deep into it, to be honest with you.
I think the deal with that movie is that there's some very valid criticisms that are being leveled at some of the mainline environmental organizations for, certainly ones like, the big name ones that are funded by people like Bloomberg and Steyer and have definitely laundered the reputations of, Shell as an example. And I think that at its best it's a provocative sort of push against some cliches. On the other hand, it seems to be very clearly out of date when it talks about the viability of renewables. In other words, making a critique that might have been valid like 10 years ago, but has not kept pace with advances in some of these things like solar. And then according to Joshua Kahn, it raises a lot of important questions about, some of the issues around, like, how do you get some of the materials for electric cars or, something like that, that could implicate like a coup in Bolivia. But, Joshua Kahn is like, yeah, there's whole segments of the environmental movement that are addressing exactly these things that, don't even sort of make it in the final cut. So, and then it goes into I'm someone that even if you swim in the pool of population stuff, I have a very strong aversion to it. And it goes there maybe a little bit. So, but it's worth teasing out. It's worth talking about because it's definitely it's become a totem. Some people say that it's this horrible anti-scientific right-wing agitprop, which I think is a little bit much, frankly, and does not reflect what they're trying to do. But then on the other hand, there's sort of some Doorism in it, I guess, but we break it down.